Hello all. We're going to have a look now at a short game played by Alexander Grischuk with the white pieces against Bareev. It was played in 2001, and what we see here is French defense e4, e6. I'll put the moves here, okay, like this. And the interesting thing about this this game is that the variation that we see here is one that I saw in one of the games that J. Robbie showed me. So I found it very interesting to find a Grandmaster game with the same variation, so then things can become maybe more clear about what the ideas are behind this variation in the French defense. So what we see here mainly is white has a pawn chain here, and what black tries to do is to attack the point d4 later with knight to c6 and queen to b6, all directed against d4, and white wants to keep the chain intact by his last move c3, defending c4. Now in the game knight to c6 was played, and white defends this d4 point with knight to f3. The black knight goes to h6. This is something that is seen a lot in this variation. The idea is to bring the knight to f5 so it can attack this d4 pawn as well. So it looks like the main plans of black are quite easy and straight, all directing his attack, his pressure against this d4 pawn. But the question is, what should be the plan of white? Well, we can use one rule, let's say, that Nimzowitsch gave us, and this rule says that when you have a pawn chain, this pawn chain has two sides. One is the base, b2 in this case, and the head, e5. That means that this pawn chain, if this is the base and that's the head, it's directing towards the kingside. So in general you can say that in that case it means that white must try to find play on the kingside. Because this pawn chain is directed this way, automatically the other diagonals are also open towards the kingside, and black's play is more on the queen side. Now let's have a look at a few more moves. He puts his bishop on d3 on this diagonal towards the kingside. Black takes on c4, and now white took on h6. So he's exchanging one of his bishop for this knight, and also ruining black's pawn structure on the king side. Now after that he took back on d4, and black tried to continue his development by bishop to d7. White did the same, knight to c3. Now queen b6 is played. Now we see that there are two weaknesses in white, and that's d4 and b2. Both pawns are weak, they cannot be defended by other pawns right now. White reacted by playing bishop to b5. So this bishop is blocking the attack of the queen against b2. And the pawn on d4 is still defended by two pieces. So there is no direct danger for white. Now what black does now is he places his rook on g8, placing the rook on this open file, half open file. And white castles here. And some of you may ask now, why castling here and putting the king on this place where the rook has been placed by black? Well, the thing is that if you look at the rest of the pieces of black, they all are on the queen side. That means that white doesn't need to fear an attack here on the king side, because it's very difficult for black to bring his queen towards the king side to support an attack here. And also this bishop on d8 is blocked by his own pawn chain here. So that's why castling kingside here is not as unsafe as you would think. Now black tried here some tactics. He took on e5. White took back on e5, and then he captured on b5. So it looks like he has won a pawn, because he gives a piece away and then he regains the piece on b5, and the e5 pawn has been captured. But we have to consider also that this knight now on e5 looks very strong, is centralized, and with white next move, queen to h5, we see suddenly that this base of the pawn chain, of black's pawn chain, is being attacked, f7. So black now has to defend this f7 pawn, and he does it by playing the rook to g7. Now white tries to put more pressure by bringing more pieces into the attack. That's one of the main ideas when you play attacking chess, is to try to involve all your pieces in the attack. What white does now is it brings the rook from f to e1, and in this position the idea of white is actually two things. One idea is to bring the rook to e3 and then to f3 to put more pressure on f7, and another idea is to keep an eye on this e6 pawn, because possibilities of sacrificing the knight on f7 can arise. And actually in the game that's what happened. Black played rook to d8, and now white first took on b5 to force black to take with the queen on b5, and after queen takes b5 we see that the e6 pawn is not longer defended by the queen. It's only defended by f7, and that makes knight takes f7 possible. After rook takes f7, Alexander Grischuk played rook takes e6 check, and here black resigned. Now it needs some calculation to see that it's really hopeless for black. I'll show you one of the possible variations. Bishop e7. Then follows a second sacrifice. Rook takes e7. King takes e7. And now rook to e1. Check. King f8. Queen takes h6. So you can see that this black king is in open space, so it can be attacked from all sides. The king can go to g8, but then we have queen to g5 check. Now we see that also this rook is attacked. So if king h8, then queen takes d8 check. If now the king goes to g7, then white can play rook to e8, and now the threats are just too heavy. Threatening check here and then a checkmate on h4 is something that black cannot defend against. So summarizing, we can say that in this game black chose to the main strategical idea of attacking d4, and what white did is he concentrated on, after this exchange, to attack on the king side. And we can also see that black did not castle, so his king stayed in the middle of the board, and because of that the main idea of white was to attack in the center. Actually this taking on e5 gave white easy ideas of attacking, because after queen h5 we see that this weakness on f7 becomes very important. And because of the fact that black didn't castle and the king is in the middle, it's actually a matter of trying to open the center as fast as possible, and this is the way that white did it, and his attack became so strong that there was no way for black to defend. So okay, I hope you enjoyed this short game, and it gave you some ideas of how to play and how to handle this variation in the French defense, this E5 variation. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time on YouTube. Bye bye.